So let me just preface this by saying this is probably going to be a long, very long video. I did not post my what I watched in November. We are in January, so I'm just going to tag the video that I never finished editing onto the end of this video, so you can watch my what I watched in December, and then to follow it up right away, my what I watched in November if you are interested. I'm also going to do my best to skip over things that I've watched and things that I really don't feel like talking about because I don't want to overwhelm you and be here forever. But before we begin, please go ahead and check out my letterboxd. It is deadgrlYT. I will leave it down below. Check out Alex's channel. I watch almost all of my movies with him. I will also leave that link down below. And let's start off talking about two movies that I rewatched at the very beginning of the month. First being Searching, which I actually loved more than I thought I would the first time I saw it, and what I am still calling the Untitled Amazing Jonathan documentary because that was the original name for it. But those were two rewatches on the 1st of December. On the 2nd, I watched a movie called Uncle Frank. I'm not going to get too much into this because it will be in my top 10 favorite non-horror movies of 2020. I loved this one. On the 4th, we watched Black Bear. This one was a wild ride, and I had been waiting a long time to see it. Ingrid Goes West is my favorite Aubrey Plaza role, so it was really exciting to see her in another dramatic role like this, and to really flex her acting chops because she was fantastic. Also, anything Christopher Abbott is in, I'm here for. On the 5th, we watched Freaky. I enjoyed this. Okay, so I know it had been compared to Happy Death Day, but I enjoyed this so much more than Happy Death Day. I gave it 3. I think that's a solid rating for it. It was a really fun movie to watch. I thought Vince Vaughn was hilarious. The Hot Chick is one of my very favorite comedies, so this reminded me a lot of that. On the 6th, we watched a documentary called Spaceship Earth. This one is long, but it is pretty interesting. So if you guys are into people creating their own biosphere, you can go ahead and check that one out. I believe it's on Prime. I also watched a movie called The Duke of Burgundy, and it's not, there's no Duke of Burgundy involved. It was a very sadistic love story between two women who have a relationship involving dominance roles, and one wants it more than the other, and I loved it so much. Did I give it a 5? Yeah, I gave it a 4.5. I was gonna say, if I didn't like give it a really high rating, I'm gonna kick myself in the ass because I think about that movie so frequently. Also on the 6th, I watched the Christmas short for holidays for a review. On the 9th, we watched Bad Education, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. I'm really upset that I didn't see this one sooner, and I'm a little upset that Alex Wolff wasn't in this one more. And on the 11th, we have a movie that I gave 5 stars to. Alex said that he wanted to hate this movie more than he did, but it's The Favorite. I love Yorgos. I love anything Yorgos does. Really, I told you guys I was waiting for Nimic and I still haven't rewatched it, but The Favorite did something for me. Like, I was here for that power struggle, that power dynamic, just everything about it I was here for. Olivia Colman was amazing in that movie. Another fantastic movie we watched on the 12th was Sound of Metal. I had been waiting a long time for this, and I am channeling my inner Olivia Cook, I guess, with these eyebrows. But Sound of Metal was incredible, and there's a movie called The Sound of Silence that's coming out, I believe, with Peter Sarsgaard. I think that's the one. But I do have that on my watch list. On the 14th, I watched Krampus for a movie review. You guys probably have seen that already. On the 15th, we watched David Cronenberg's Shivers because we are big fans of David Cronenberg. I wanted to like this more than I did. Maybe a rewatch would be necessary. We did watch this one quite late, so I remember that. On the 18th, we watched Anything for Jackson, which was number 2 on my top 10 of 2020 horror movie list thing that I just uploaded, so I'm not going to talk too much about that one. And then on the 19th, we watched The Vigil, which I wanted to like more than I did. I think I do need to rewatch this one and give it more time. And then on the 20th, I watched Leap of Faith. It was William Friedkin on The Exorcist, and you guys probably know I'm a big fan of The Exorcist. So to see that movie just be broken down the way that it was by the man who directed it, it was amazing. I really enjoyed that little documentary. On the 21st, we watched a movie that I ended up liking a lot more than I thought I would. It was Happiest Season, and I remember earlier on in November, or later on in November, Alex was like, do you want to watch Happiest Season? And I was like, no dog, I don't want to cry. We watched it and I cried. It was a good movie. I really enjoyed that one. On the 22nd, I watched A Christmas Horror Story, another review that I did. And then on the 22nd, I watched Christmas with the Cranks with my parents. On the 24th, we watched Black Christmas for another movie review. And then on Christmas Day, we watched The Empty Man. Yeah, this one was a little bit, it was a little much for me, and I'm gonna hard pass The Empty Man. On the 26th, I watched a documentary on Prime called Rewind, and this had been on my watch list for a while. I had been waiting for this one. It was so sad. It was about child abuse within the family, and it was just so heartbreaking to watch. Oh my god, the way that it unfolded was just so hard to watch. But if you're into stuff like that, I highly recommend that one. Somewhere along this month, we watched Hunter x Hunter, but both of us forgot to log it, so I have no idea where that movie sits on this list, but it was phenomenal, and I am probably going to rewatch it again soon. Moving along though, on the 26th, I watched Cabin Fever, the Eli Roth one. I had just been thinking about him talking about it on the history of horror, and I wanted to give that one a rewatch. Also, on the 26th, we watched a disturbing movie that I love called Happiness. Philip Seymour Hoffman, he was so great in that movie. There's a couple of really disturbing scenes, so like be very wary of that one. Also involving child abuse, stalking, unwanted sexual advances. You know what? It's a movie, but it's older. I believe it came out in '98. So it was one that if you were into that kind of stuff again, I highly recommend. It is another really long one. And then to end the month, to end the year I should say, in December, we finished it off with 2 black and white horror movies, recent horror movies. On the 28th, rewatched The Eyes of My Mother, a fantastic kind of torture revenge story. I really like kind of a torture revenge captive. It's a disturbing kind of watch, but I really enjoy that one. And then to finish off the year, on the 31st, we watched A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. I had seen on Letterboxd, someone left a review saying that there is a scene where they just kind of like exist to the song Death by White Lies, and I had been like looking forward to that scene for that whole movie because I have loved that song since high school. So when it started, I was just enamored, and I thought it was so, like, it took my breath away. I was like crying watching it. It was an experience, that movie, and I really loved that movie. Wow, it didn't film for as long as I thought I would. I do want to say there are a few shows that I watched. We watched season 1 and 2 of Homecoming. I'm not sure if I mentioned that in my November video, but Homecoming, highly recommend that show. It is an Amazon Prime original. It is so good. I want more. And then I finished Night Stalker on Netflix, which was the Night Stalker documentary. It was about Richard Ramirez. If you are into that kind of stuff about serial killers and all that fun stuff, just kidding, not fun stuff. Don't take rewind. I would highly recommend you guys check out the band Skinned, S-K-Y-N-D, because they do have a song called Richard Ramirez, and it is. They say in that song, I'll see you in Disneyland, and they finished that documentary. Spoiler alert, giving you a second to plug your ears. They kind of ended on him saying, I'll see you in Disneyland, and I was like, oh. So I really enjoyed that one. I think that was the only pair of shows that we did start watching Succession, which I'm really excited about, and we're going to get into Bonding. I've seen season 1, but season 2 is coming out, so I want to get Alex caught up on that. It's really nice that, like, even though we don't even live in the same country, things are available for us to watch, like through streaming services, so I really appreciate that. So get ready for my what I watched in November. You guys are gonna see me with my green and blue hair, I'm pretty sure. So let's rewind to that time and I'll see you soon. Sayonara, suckers. Spooky fam. Let's get started. On November 1st, I watched Rammstein Paris, and this is, so quick little story time for you guys. In 2012, I forget which month exactly. It was a colder month, I'm pretty sure, because I remember wearing flannel to the concert. I went to go and see Rammstein. It was the Made in Germany tour. I went to the concert in Detroit, Michigan. I have my Made in Germany CD right here. Anyways, seeing Rammstein in concert was hands down one of the greatest experiences of my entire life, and I didn't realize that this filmed concert by Jonas Åkerlund, I might have butchered that name, but he also directed one of my favorite videos, music videos, Telephone by Lady Gaga and Beyonce. Anyways, so this was the exact same concert that I had seen live, shot for shot, song for song, like act for, it was just like, I'm watching it and I just kept getting so excited because I was like, oh, I saw that in real life. Like, I watched these grown-ass men in full BDSM gear, on leashes, on their hands and knees, get dragged across this. Like, it was amazing. That giant penis that you see in this concert, I got sprayed by it, okay? It was, I wish, like, that is one of the things that I wish that I could relive, because I so vividly remember when they played America, like, we were in America. I'm obviously Canadian, but I remember the row that we were in jumped so hard and so consistently that our chairs, like, were not on like what they were supposed to be on anymore. Like, the whole row of chairs just fell off. Like, there was so much jumping going on. It was just so, I wish I could relive it. It was so phenomenal. On the 2nd, we watched The Craft Legacy. I don't even want to talk about this. I cannot believe that this was directed and written by a woman, because it feels so out of touch. I am appalled. But you might like this movie. If you enjoyed this movie, go ahead, go off. My opinion here, the trailer shouldn't have even been released. Like, just put the movie out, let us have our opinions, you know? Like, just, it was, I'm upset. 100,000 on my head, that's disrespect. Okay, stop. I promised myself I would never do that in a video ever again. On the 3rd, though, we watched a movie called The Other Lamb, and I am a huge fan of IFC Midnight. Anything that they put out, like, let me just give a huge shout out to Rick, one of my lovely patrons and subscriber family members, Rick, who sent over Kill List. I'm gonna show you this now so that I can just put it away and not have to worry about hauling it. But I got freaking Kill List, guys, and I've been wanting, like, I've had my eye on this movie for a long time. I have not finished it. I am probably like 45 minutes into the movie, because it was on Amazon Prime. But it is an IFC Midnight movie, and I'm so excited about it. But anyways, back to The Other Lamb. This was just a really surprisingly beautiful, like, culty film, but the cinematography was chef's kiss. It was beautiful. Also on the 3rd, I'm so excited that we finally watched The Endless. You guys probably know by now I am big fans of Benson and Moorhead and Benson, in whatever way you want to spin it. I'm big fans of them. Still waiting to see Synchronic. On the 4th, I rewatched Creep 2 because last month I watched Creep. Also on the 4th, I finished it was a Shudder, like, 5-episode show called Cursed Films. This got recommended by 2 chicks in a horror flick. If you happen to be watching, hello Tawny and Felicia. but I had heard this on their podcast and I was quite intrigued by it. I have been like diving into some more stuff on Shudder lately and really enjoying it. So if you like learning more about like the history of some movies, go ahead and check out Cursed Films. Also on the 4th, I watched The Hunt and I was quite surprised by this movie. I love Betty Gilpin, she's so cool, but I didn't think this movie was going to be as funny and as shocking as it was. And I am upset because 100,000. I'm not gonna do it. I'm upset because I love Ike Barinholtz so much. I've been like a big Ike Barinholtz and Jordan Peele fan since like early Mad TV days. Maybe I want to say 98 is when I first saw Mad TV. So I've been a fan for a long time. So when my man's spoiler alert did not make it through that film, I was a little upset because he is my favorite part of Neighbors. Also on the 4th, I watched another shocking film. I didn't think this movie was going to be as good as it was. The Taking of Deborah Logan. The way that her dementia progresses in this movie kind of reminded me how my grandma was near the end and what I had to deal with, and it made me feel very afraid. Alright, we have a handful of rewatches here. On the 6th, I got Alex to watch Piercing. A big fan of this movie. We are actually tonight, the night I'm filming this, we are watching, it is the 4th of December, we are watching Black Bear with Aubrey Plaza and Christopher Abbott. And I'm a big Christopher Abbott fan, and I do love Aubrey Plaza a lot, but Christopher Abbott was amazing in Piercing and was amazing in Possessor, and don't get me started about Charlie in Girls. I can't go there ever again. But anyways, on the 7th, I rewatched Hereditary for probably the 7th time. It's a comfort movie for me at this point. I'm gonna talk about a lot about my grandma passing in this video. I have a feeling, just because it's kind of like relative to things I'm talking about, but when she passed, my first thought was, well, better go watch Hereditary to cope. Like, there's just something about it that makes me feel, it gives me comfort. And then directly after Hereditary, I rewatched The Strange Thing About the Johnsons because I wanted to just kind of compare his filmmaking. Yeah, it was a fun time. I love them. I love Ari Aster. On the 8th, I finally got around to rewatching Drag Me to Hell. I didn't ever give this movie enough time, and it was because I didn't give Sam Raimi enough time, but now that I am a mature young adult, I really appreciate this now that I have seen what Sam Raimi has to offer, and appreciated Evil Dead more. That goat scene, I am terrified of goats, but that shit is wild. On the 9th, we finally watched the Soska Sisters Rabid, and I am pretty upset that they gave CM Punk like 7.5 minutes of screen time and put his name on the cover of the slip of the DVD. Like, this man's is the most pathetic actor. Alex and I actually talked shit about the girl on the 3rd floor on Twitter one time, and the director like liked our tweets, and it was really awkward. Anyways, about Rabid, I appreciated the prosthetics. I appreciated like the way the movie went, but I did not appreciate some of the acting and casting choices in this movie. On the 11th, I rewatched Resident Evil, the first one, because I hadn't seen it since probably like 2004, like very early 2000s, and I didn't remember the story at all. And Resident Evil, I believe it is Retribution. That is the one where they are in the simulation, right? That's my favorite one. I saw that shit in IMAX like 3 times. But seeing that so many times and not remembering where the whole like origin started, it was nice to revisit that story. And it was like, Alice is a badass right from the beginning. On the 12th, I watched Captain Fantastic, and I remember watching this before going to work one day and just being absolutely distraught. Like, I went to work and they were like, are you okay? Because my eyes were all puffy, I looked sick, like I cried so hard at the end of that movie. The kids and I am in love with George McKay. And I will give up, like I wrote my review because it actually like caught me off guard. full peen warning. Viggo Mortensen, good for you. On the 13th, we rewatched, well, I rewatched, because Alex hadn't seen it yet, Villains, which was a very fun movie, and I enjoyed it more the second time around. Kira Sedgwick, man, I can't stand her. I bought a shirt with the closer on it, with her face on it. I can't stand her. It's just ironic that I don't like her. J.K. Simmons is on it too. I don't know, I'm digressing, so guys. And then right after that, we watched The Ritual, and that was such a fun movie. I hadn't seen it at all, and I kind of, like, the monster was ruined for me because I had seen it in so many, like, list videos, but I really enjoyed The Ritual. That movie was so fun, and I really want to watch Apostle next. I feel like it'll have kind of the same vibes. You know the vibes. On the 14th, rewatched The Tale. Got Alex to watch that one, and that is a difficult watch. It was actually one of the first movies that I logged into Letterboxd, if not the first movie. No, I think Us was the first movie that I logged, actually. But The Tale is a heartbreaking true story, and if you guys are into that kind of thing and are okay with sensitive topics involving children, I highly recommend that one, because there is a twist in the very beginning of the movie that I don't want to ruin unless you see it, because it's shocking. Like, it's actually shocking, and I highly recommend this movie. HBO can do no wrong, in my opinion. And then after that, we watched Daniel Isn't Real, finally, and I surprisingly enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was going to be way, like, cheesier and campier than it was. It was quite campy, but it had a pretty, like, decent storyline. Patrick Schwarzenegger is kind of a cunt, but anyways, it had solid performances, and the lighting in this movie was just right up my alley. On the 15th, I watched a movie called The True History of the Kelly Gang, and this is another one starring George McKay. Fantastic watch. None of the story is real at all, and they make sure to let you know, because it is kind of an outrageous story about a revenge story about boys in dresses doing dirty work, and it's amazing. But it's like a period piece kind of, and it is long, and like, when I think of a movie that is long, I think of Django, because I know that it is 2 hours and 45 minutes. I watched that movie every day for like an entire year when I was in beauty school. But when I think of movies and length of movies, I'm always like, is it Django long? And this one wasn't Django long, but it was almost Django long, and it felt like it. But if you guys like kind of like fictional, extreme revenge, like wartime stories, highly recommend this one. It was very fun. On the 16th, I watched a little movie called Are We Not Cats? I'm still thinking about this movie to this day. It was on Shudder, and it's essentially a movie about people who are addicted to eating hair, and it takes a gross body horror twist turn, and there's just some things that you can't unsee. But by the end, I was crying. I cried at the end. Spoiler alert, there is a gnarly hairball that makes it to the end of the movie, and I cried at the hairball, because that's the kind of person that I am. Why are you not focusing? I have a picture of Pazoos. I don't want to say his name. Pazoos. Staring at me right now on my wall. You're not allowed in my apartment. You're not allowed here. We do not. And the non-focusing camera is kind of scaring me a little bit. Anyways, on the 17th, I finally watched The Lodge, and I did not give it enough attention, and I definitely need to rewatch The Lodge, because the last 45 minutes, I can't tell you what happened. I can't tell you what happened. On the 21st, we rewatched Little Monsters, and that was for the Two Chicks in a Horror Flick podcast. I had recommended that movie to them. It was so crazy to hear them like love me as much as I love them, but they watched this movie and it was divided on their podcast. But I love this movie. I love the backstory behind this movie. I think it is so funny. I think it is so full of heart. And if you haven't seen Little Monsters, not the old, like the 2019 version, I highly recommend it, because it is such a great, like, it's a little bit of a horror comedy, but it's fun. It's a fun watch. On the 21st, we watched Run, which is actually by the same director as Searching, and we watched Searching on the 1st of this month, but we'll get to that next, at the end of the week, you know what I mean. Run with Sarah Paulson. It was a fun thriller to watch. Would I revisit it? Probably not. I don't think, maybe, Searching for Me has a lot of rewatchability because of the hidden alien, like UFO extraterrestrial storyline, but maybe one day we'll revisit Run, just because I enjoyed Sarah Paulson's performance. I liked watching her become a little unhinged. It was fun. Coherence, we watched directly after that. This was another movie that I think I need to rewatch and give a little more attention to. It was definitely like mind-bending. It was a mindfuck, but I really enjoyed it. It was different, it was original, but yeah, definitely need to give it a rewatch. On the 22nd, I watched Better Watch Out, but you guys have already seen my review for that by now. And then after that, we watched His House. I really enjoyed this movie. I think it is an important watch. I cannot give this movie enough praise. It had some really good scares, and it was genuinely effective. It was sad, it was great visuals, just an overall good movie. Okay, on the 24th, I watched a documentary, finally, Minding the Gap. I have been waiting. I don't know why I put this one off for so long, but Minding the Gap was so, oh my gosh, it was just so real, and it tells the story of 3 best friends and their life growing up, and then you just kind of like dive into themes of abuse and child abuse and domestic abuse, and it's just so upsetting and sad, and it was great. It was so beautifully shot. Bing, I love Bing. I can't stop thinking about Bing and his mom. Oh my goodness, it was such a great documentary. If you guys enjoy like skateboarding at all, or like documentaries, 2 things I really love, you go ahead and check that out because it was beautiful. Another movie that I appreciated so much, Blind Spotting. There is a certain scene in this movie, a certain rap sequence, and that is another scene that is like seared into my brain. I will never forget it. Oh my goodness, Blind Spotting is just, an event happens at the beginning of the movie, and it said, like in the description, a cop shoots a black man and another black man witnesses it, and it was a white cop, so like you're dealing with that already. I don't want to get too much into the story because it's one that I really enjoyed watching unfold, but if you guys are into like themes of racism, gentrification, like things that are really important, I would definitely check out Blind Spotting. There's another one on this list that I will get to in a minute, but first let's talk about Spring. Oh god! Oh, I talked about Moorhead and Benson already in this video. I like danced because I love them so much. They are probably 2 of my favorite directors. I appreciate everything they do. Once again, cannot wait to see Synchronic. But Spring was such a beautiful love story. Oh, it was such a beautiful love story. It was so Lovecrafty and it was so scary at the same time. Just, there's one reveal near the end of the movie and that like solidified the 5 stars for me. Whew, I loved Spring. On the 28th, we watched a stupid little movie called Porno. This one was on Shudder, and it was about a bunch of very PG, Jesus-fearing people working at Jesus-fearing teens working at a cinema, and they come across a demonic, satanic porno, like a movie, and it was just so weird and wild, and I actually liked it more than I'd like to admit. And then directly after that, we watched Christopher Nolan's 3-hour time epic. You might have heard of this one, Tenet. I am so surprised by this movie. It was so long. That one is Django long almost. I'm pretty sure that one is like just under Django long. Yeah, Tenet is 15 minutes short of Django long. That's like my reference point, guys. Now, I know a lot of people had an issue with the sound in the theater, but I might be a little biased because Alex and I both watched with our headphones on. I watched with my over-the-ear headphones on because I wanted to hear everything. The score in Tenet made that movie for me. Just the constant noise. It was amazing. I really enjoyed the storyline. Robert Pattinson was amazing. I am just a big fan of John David Washington to begin with. I am a little biased there because BlacKkKlansman is one of my favorite movies. I love his role in BlacKkKlansman so much. It was so, just to end up where the movie ends up, it was just so cool to watch it happen. But yeah, the score, I've mentioned this before, Contagion is one of my favorite movies for the score alone, and that's how this movie made me feel. I'm a little surprised Alex gave it a 4 and I gave it a 5. I only gave it a 5 because the score like affected me in such a way, you know, like I am a big lover of sound and noise, and 9 Inch Nails, Tool, like industrial music is really where I live and breathe, and that is what I feel when I hear like noise in music, and that's what I think of, and oh, it was good. All right, 3 left. Anna and the Apocalypse, I'm not going to talk about because you guys will probably have seen my review by now. Ghosts of War was a waste of my time. I watched this movie because the trailer looked really good. It had a decent, like, it had a promising storyline. I really am a big fan of war movies, and this one promised a star-studded cast with 2 people that I was very excited about, Skylar Astin and Theo Rossi. Theo Rossi was Juice. I love Juicy in Sons. I grew to love Juice so much, and that's probably like the main reason why I wanted to watch this movie. But like the way that whoever did the CGI, you're fired. That movie was such a waste. Okay, last but not least, we're gonna talk about something that I didn't want to talk about because, okay, well, I understand this movie. I finally watched Nimic, you guys, and I mentioned last month that I watched Dogtooth because I just needed some Yorgos in my life, and I finally watched Nimic, which is a Yorgos short. It's about 11.5 minutes, starring Matt Dillon, and I got really impatient. It's been like a year that I've been waiting to see this, so I torrented it. Joke's on me because the torrent that I got was, say like this is the screen, I got like that much of the screen, and I'm thinking, wow, is this how he shot this movie? Because like Yorgos is kind of strange. Maybe this was just the way that it was intended to look, but when I went back and watched the trailer, I was like, there's no way that this was shot like this. And it was like really grainy, and I'm like, oh, did he shoot this on film? Like, that's so cool. I got the story. I understand the story. I understand the doppelganger aspect of the story. I loved the ending and where it went, but I just need to see the full picture, you know? And I know it's streaming on Mubi, but like I'm not going to just subscribe to Mubi so that I can watch a 12-minute short and nothing else, you know? So I told you you're not welcome in my apartment. Just so you guys know what I'm looking at when I say that. Isn't he kind of terrifying? Anyways, that is all for this month. I hope that you guys maybe got some suggestions, maybe you liked something that I talked about. Don't forget to check out Alex's channel because we do watch so many movies together every month. Do you want to say hello? Peep Peep wanted to say hello. Nice boy. Oh, I love you. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, check out my main channel for reaction videos, and I will see you soon with some more Christmas horror movie reviews. Thank you for watching, Spooky Bam. I love you so much.